You can't be here. She's recovering. Recovering? While the rest of us cover her work? While we drown? Poor Lisa's been crying in the bathroom every lunch because she's managing 2 portfolios. And Nina's here watching daytime TV.
You broke into my home.
You broke into my payroll. It's bad timing, Nina. Real bad timing to be sick.
He dumped a stack of paperwork on our coffee table.
Sign these. Authorize project closures. Or don't. You'll just be another weak link.
Then he turned to Theo.
And you, Mr. Caretaker? Bet you miss when she had eyebrows, huh? You son of a beach!
Theo lunged, but one of the goons pulled him back and tied his hands with a rope. I felt a fear I hadn't known since the diagnosis. A helplessness even deeper than the cancer.
Relax, folks. Consider this a performance review, at home.
They wrecked the living room, threw down framed photos, crushed the orchid Theo had bought me when I lost my hair.
Be in the office tomorrow, sick or not or else.
Then they left, without signing anything. Just chaos. Hi, my name is Nina Williams, and for 15 years I worked at Doran Tech. I started there fresh out of university, eager, ambitious, and grateful to find a company that promised innovation and inclusivity. I met my husband Theo during a work seminar. We married 4 years later, and life felt stable, until it didn't. A year ago, I was diagnosed with lymphoma. My hair began to fall out in clumps. My skin lost its glow. I took medical leave and started chemotherapy. Each session was a battle, but I was fighting for life, for dignity, for a return to normal. I had taken my leave the right way, formally, through HR, with every medical document submitted, every procedure logged. 3 weeks into chemotherapy, the nausea was a second skin, the fatigue bone deep. But at least I had my time, my space, my right to heal. But normal didn't include Mr. Doran showing up at my doorstep like a storm. It was a cold Tuesday morning. Theo was in the kitchen making my usual chamomile tea. I was wrapped in a wool blanket on the couch, watching the morning news, a knit cap covering my patchy scalp, when the doorbell rang, once, twice, then 5 times in rapid, violent succession. Theo flinched.
I'll get it.
He didn't make it to the door in time. With a sudden crack, the door burst open, splinters flying. 2 large men in black jackets barged in first, followed by Mr. Doran himself, holding a thick manila folder like a weapon. I jolted upright. What is this? What are you doing?
Wow, the Cancer Queen speaks. Long time, Nina. Just here to check in on my missing employee, and maybe remind her what a job is.
What the hell? I'm on leave. I'm undergoing treatment.
Oh, I know, Nina. You made that crystal clear to HR, but the business doesn't pause for your pity parade.
Theo tried to push them back.
You broke our damn door! Get out, she's sick!
This is harassment. I'm still under chemotherapy. I'm legally on leave.
Chemotherapy, time off, crying coworkers. Honestly, you act like you're the first person to ever get sick.
He stepped toward me, placed the manila folder on the coffee table like it was radioactive.
Sign the project transfer approvals. Sign the finance closeouts. You think just because you're sick, deadlines disappear? She's not even halfway through her treatment. Exactly. So she's got time. Sign it, Nina, or don't. Either way, I'll find a way to fix the mess you left.
My hands trembled, not from fear, but fury. I was bald, exhausted, fighting for my life. And this man wanted a signature more than he valued a soul.
You can't be here! She's recovering! Recovering? While the rest of us cover her work? While we drown? Poor Lisa's been crying in the bathroom every lunch because she's managing 2 portfolios. And Nina's here watching daytime TV.
You broke into my home.
You broke into my payroll. It's bad timing, Nina. Real bad timing to be sick.
He dumped a stack of paperwork on our coffee table.
Sign these. Authorize project closures. Or don't. You'll just be another weak link.
Then he turned to Theo.
And you, Mr. Caretaker? Bet you miss when she had eyebrows, huh? You son of a beach!
Theo lunged, but one of the goons pulled him back and tied his hands with a rope. I felt a fear I hadn't known since the diagnosis. A helplessness even deeper than the cancer.
Relax, folks. Consider this a performance review, at home.
They wrecked the living room, threw down framed photos, crushed the orchid Theo had bought me when I lost my hair.
Be in the office tomorrow, sick or not or else.
Then they left, without signing anything. Just chaos. Back at work, Mr. Doran was a tyrant in a suit. He played the cool CEO during conferences, but we all knew better. He once made an intern run 5 blocks to get him avocado toast, and fired her for being too slow. He forced a male employee with chronic back pain to sit through 8-hour meetings without breaks, mocking him for walking like Frankenstein. He told our receptionist, Carla, that her accent was charming but distracting. And then there was Priya. PRLYA, a senior analyst, limped slightly due to a childhood polio case. One day she presented a quarterly report. After the meeting, he muttered, not quietly enough,
Next time she limps in, tell her to drag better numbers behind her.
She cried in the bathroom for an hour. I remember helping her clean her mascara off with a paper towel. A week after the break-in, I saw the post. A photo of an empty office chair captioned, "Lazy employees milking sick leave while real workers suffer. Sick leave scam, accountability matters." He didn't name me. He didn't have to. The comments were vile. Zara, my 16-year-old niece, stormed into the living room that night.
He crossed a line. I'm getting that bastard.
Zara, it's not worth it.
You survived chemo. Let me survive hacking.
She enlisted 2 of her techie friends, Amara and Lewis. Within 48 hours, they'd mapped Doran's smart home system. His house has smart security, linked cameras, cloud backups, and a Bluetooth door system. Amara spoofed the entry logs. We walked right in while he was out doing a podcast. They pulled files from his in-home security servers, including hidden footage of him mocking employees during after-hours parties. One clip showed him mimicking Priya's limp with a beer in hand. Another had him laughing at a blind applicant.
Can't see the job description? Then I can't see you in my company.
There was more. Recordings of him berating his girlfriend, Vanessa.
Stop recording everything like a psycho.
You'd be nothing without my name. Now make yourself useful or leave.
The footage went viral, and Vanessa, bless her, spoke up in the aftermath. She posted a video.
He made me feel small. He tracked my periods. Once told me, PMS isn't an excuse to be a bitch. I stayed too long. I'm done now.
Then came the interviews, the coverage, the lawsuits. The courtroom was packed.
Mr. Doran, you are facing charges of harassment, unlawful termination, emotional abuse, and multiple violations of disability rights. How do you plead? Not guilty, Your Honor.
The prosecution called witnesses. PRLYA stepped up.
I worked under Mr. Doran for 6 years. I was told to hide my limp for client meetings. He once made me walk across the floor just to laugh at me.
Gasps filled the courtroom. Then Carla, then Lisa, then me. He mocked my illness, broke into my home, tied my husband up. I was recovering from chemo. I was terrified.
This is more than negligence. This is inhumanity masked as management.
The jury deliberated less than 2 hours. Verdict, guilty. Prison wasn't kind to Mr. Doran. Officer Malik, who processed him, had a sister who died from the same cancer I survived.
Let me guess. You're the CEO who thinks cancer is convenient? I want protective custody. I want my sister back. Life sucks. You don't get special.
At first, he tried to carry himself with the same smugness, the same superiority he wore like cologne at the office. That didn't last long. Word spread fast. A correctional officer leaked his background. CEO mocks cancer survivor, breaks into her home, posts about lazy, sick employees online. That's all it took.
You the cancer clown? No, that's not. My wife couldn't afford chemo. And you're out here breaking into some lady's house while she's puking her guts out? My little girl died bald. You think that's funny?
Doran tried to explain, tried to plead. But prison doesn't offer press conferences or PR managers. They took turns spitting in his food. He was forced to clean toilets with a toothbrush. Someone shaved off one side of his head while he slept. They ripped the sleeves off his shirt and made him wear it backwards. They poured soap into his shoes. One night, they tied him with his own bedsheet to the bunk and whispered into his ear for hours, naming every person they loved who had died of cancer.
You ever watch someone die while you hold their hand? Of course not. You were too busy filming yourself being an asshole.
By the 3rd week, his nose was broken. His lips were split. He'd lost 20 pounds and most of his dignity. He begged to be transferred. He begged for solitary. He begged to be forgotten. But karma had no earplugs. Months passed. I was offered a consulting position at the National Workplace Reform Initiative. I accepted. Now I help reshape company policies around medical leave, inclusivity, and compassion. I share my story. I teach empathy. Zara launched an app called Shut Them Down, a whistleblower platform with encrypted submissions and live HR guidance. Vanessa opened a women's shelter. Doran? He got 15 years and a new nickname in prison. CEO, see you next Tuesday. Thanks for watching. And remember, if your boss mocks your illness, don't quit, upload. Like, comment, and subscribe. Karma's got Wi-Fi now.
I stared at them in disbelief. It was like they didn't even care. They were sitting there, laughing, like this was all some kind of joke. Sometimes it takes a little bit for my body to react, but I suddenly felt my throat tightening. You guys know I could die, right? Dude, we're not trying to kill you. Stop being such a baby. My throat was closing up, and I rushed over to my backpack and pulled out my EpiPen and used it. I instantly felt relief and could breathe again. But I still needed to go to the hospital as the EpiPen would only give me a short window of relief. I need to go to the hospital before the drugs wear off. Can one of you drive me? Why? No way, you can drive yourself.
Yeah, and on your way back, be sure to grab some more beer. And don't buy the cheap stuff, Kenny.
Something snapped in me then. All the years of putting up with their crap, all the insults, the jokes, the way they'd taken advantage of me, it all came crashing down in that moment. They didn't care about me. They never had. They just liked having someone around to kick when they were bored. It's funny how long you can put up with people treating you like crap before you realize you've had enough. I guess I just never saw myself as the kind of guy who would stand up for himself. My friends, if you could even call them that, knew that too, and they used it against me every chance they got. For the longest time, I let it slide. I let them get away with everything, telling myself it wasn't a big deal, that it was just how friends act. Hi, my name is Kenny, and this story is about how I finally grew a backbone and stood up for myself. Looking back now, I can see how toxic the whole thing was, how stupid I was to let it get as bad. And when I say bad, I mean life-threatening. They nearly killed me. It started years ago when I first met Ryan. He was funny, charismatic, the life of every party. He had this way of making you feel like you were special just by being around him. And I guess that's why I got sucked in. When he introduced me to his friend group, Ethan and Zoe, it felt like I'd found a place where I belonged. I was never the most confident guy, and being part of their group made me feel important, like I had value just by association. But there was a price. It began with small things. If we were all hanging out at Ryan's place, I'd always be the one who had to make the beer run. Ethan would throw me his keys with a smirk. Come on, Kenny, you don't mind, right? We'll pay for it next time. Oh, yeah, it's cool. I didn't mind, or at least that's what I told myself. I'd laugh it off, drive to the liquor store, and spend my own money because I didn't want to be the guy who complained. I mean, what was a few dollars between friends? Although I should have clued in since I was the only one that ever paid for beer when I was with them. Then there were the jokes. Every time we were out, Ryan would find some way to make me the punchline. Whoa there, Kenny. You better start hitting the gym, man. You look like a stiff breeze will knock you over. No wonder no women are interested in you. You look weaker than a kitten. It would bother me, of course, but they acted like it was just friendly ribbing. But after a while, I started to notice how often I was the target. And it wasn't just teasing, it was constant. They'd make fun of the way I dressed, the way I talked, even the fact that I didn't have a girlfriend. Zoe, who I'd had a crush on for years, would laugh and join in.
Kenny, you're too nice. Girls don't like nice guys. You need to man up and stop being such a pathetic pushover. I'm smaller than you, and even I could beat you up.
She's right, Kenny. And if Zoe doesn't think you're attractive, then no one ever will. I mean, Zoe pretty much likes all men.
Shut up, Ethan. That's not completely true. I just like all men that aren't losers.
But the worst part was, no matter how much it hurt, I didn't say anything. I thought if I just played along, eventually they'd respect me. Eventually, I'd be more than just the butt of their jokes. I thought I could prove myself somehow. And then I had the bright idea to start being assertive and to start standing up for myself in small ways. But that only made things worse. If I said no to something, like the time I refused to pay for everyone's food at the bar, Ryan would give me this look, like I'd personally offended him. Seriously, Kenny? You're gonna be that guy? After all the things we've done for you? Sorry, guys, but money is tight for me. And it really feels like I'm the only one that ever pays for stuff when we hang out.
Don't be such a cheapskate, Kenny. God, you are such a whiny shit, haha.
Every time I tried to assert myself, they'd find a way to make me feel guilty about it. Like I was betraying them by not going along with whatever they wanted. It was like being trapped in a constant loop. I hated how they treated me, but I was too scared of being alone to walk away. And deep down, I think they knew that. They knew they could push me around and I'd still show up the next day, ready to take more of their crap. But all of that changed the night they almost killed me. I've had a peanut allergy my entire life. It's severe, like hospital-level severe. I've been careful about it for as long as I can remember, always checking labels, making sure the people around me knew. Ryan, Ethan, and Zoe all knew about my allergy. I told them a million times, and I'd even had to use my EpiPen once when we were at a party, and I accidentally ate something that had been cross-contaminated with peanuts. They saw how serious it was. So, when we were at Ryan's house for a poker night, I didn't think much of it when Zoe handed me a cookie. I was about to take a bite when I smelled it. Peanuts. I pulled my hand back like I'd touched a hot stove, my heart already racing. Whoa, dude! This has peanuts in it!
Oh my God, Kenny, relax. It's just a little bit. You'll be fine.
Yeah, don't be so dramatic. You've got your EpiPen, right? Besides, the food we had earlier had peanuts in it as well, and you're fine. Don't be so dramatic. I stared at them in disbelief. It was like they didn't even care. They were sitting there, laughing, like this was all some kind of joke. Sometimes it takes a little bit for my body to react, but I suddenly felt my throat tightening. You guys know I could die, right? Dude, we're not trying to kill you. Stop being such a baby. My throat was closing up, and I rushed over to my backpack and pulled out my EpiPen and used it. I instantly felt relief and could breathe again. But I still needed to go to the hospital as the EpiPen would only give me a short window of relief. I need to go to the hospital before the drugs wear off. Can one of you drive me? Why? No way, you can drive yourself.
Yeah, and on your way back, be sure to grab some more beer. And don't buy the cheap stuff, Kenny.
Something snapped in me then. All the years of putting up with their crap, all the insults, the jokes, the way they'd taken advantage of me, it all came crashing down in that moment. They didn't care about me. They never had. They just liked having someone around to kick when they were bored. I raced out of there and to my car and drove as quickly as I could. Behind me, I could hear them laughing at me and calling me names like weakling and loser. Thankfully, I got to the hospital and they were able to stabilize me, but it was close. That night, I lay in bed, my mind racing. I realized how much of myself I'd sacrificed just to be part of their group. They'd chipped away at my self-worth for years, and I'd let them. But not anymore. I wasn't going to be their punching bag, not ever again. At the same time, though, I wanted to make them pay for all the pain they had inflicted on me over the years. Over the next few weeks, I started plotting my revenge. It wasn't enough to just walk away. I needed to make sure they regretted everything they'd ever done to me. I knew how they operated, knew all their secrets, and I was going to use that against them. First, I started with Ryan. He prided himself on being the cool guy, the guy everyone looked up to. But what most people didn't know was that he was terrified of being embarrassed. He had this reputation to maintain, and he couldn't handle anything that might tarnish it. So, I did some digging, and I found something that would ruin him. Ryan had been cheating on his girlfriend for months, something he bragged about when we were hanging out, thinking it made him look like some kind of player. His girlfriend, Emily, was sweet, way too good for him, and I had always felt bad that she didn't know the truth. So, I told her. I sent her screenshots of texts Ryan had sent me, bragging about his side chick. Emily dumped him that night in the most public way possible, at his birthday party, in front of all his friends. Ryan was humiliated, and it spread through our social circle like wildfire. He lost a lot of respect that night. Next, I turned my attention to Ethan. He worked at his dad's company, a cushy job he only got because of nepotism. Ethan liked to slack off, always showing up late and leaving early. He thought he could get away with anything because his dad was the boss. I knew one of his coworkers, a guy named Derek, who hated Ethan for always making him pick up the slack. I fed Derek some insider information, times Ethan had skipped out on important meetings, things he'd said about the company behind his dad's back. Derek used that info to report Ethan to his dad, and within a week, Ethan was demoted. He didn't lose his job, but he lost a lot of face. However, that wasn't really enough. He also had a gambling problem, something that had gotten worse over the years. I knew the guys he owed money to, and I anonymously tipped them off about where Ethan was one night. They showed up at his apartment, demanding the money he owed. Ethan had been avoiding them for months, and they beat him up pretty badly to make the point that they expected him to pay them what he owed. He was forced to sell his most prized possession, which was his car, to pay them off. As for Zoe, well, I knew she had her own secrets. She'd been trash-talking some of her closest friends behind their backs for months, and I had the receipts, literal text messages. I sent those to the group chat, and one by one, her friends confronted her, calling her out for being a two-faced liar. She lost almost everyone, and even got into a few fistfights with some of the women that she had really insulted. However, the real kicker was that Emily, Ryan's ex-girlfriend, found out that Zoe was Ryan's side chick. None of us in the friend group knew about it, but Emily had done some digging and had discovered it, and Emily not only keyed Zoe's car, but she also attacked her with a baseball bat and broke both of her legs as well. When all was said and done, none of them wanted anything to do with me, or each other. I don't think that any of them really knew that I was behind the sudden misfortune that befell all of them, but I didn't care. It was enough that I made them suffer for all the torment they had thrown my way over the years. They never spoke to me again, and I was more than fine with that. For the first time in years, I felt strong, like I'd taken control of my life. I'd spent so long letting them walk all over me, but now I felt sure of myself and confident. After that, I joined a baseball league. I wasn't really good at it, but I found some real friends there. People who valued me for who I was, not what I could do for them, and they showed me what I had been missing. I think the best was whenever I would be hard on myself for not playing well. They would encourage me and cheer me on. One of the guys on my team even asked if he could introduce me to his sister. He told me that he thought I was a great guy and that he wanted his sister to meet someone awesome. I have no idea if we'll hit it off, but the fact that he thinks I'm good enough for his sister makes me feel special. It feels pretty good, and makes me regret all the years I'd wasted being afraid, being passive. Never again. The siren. Lights blazed behind us. I pulled over. My hands shook. Stay calm. He'll see you're in labor and help, right? The officer strutted over like he was walking a red carpet. Stocky, crew cut, mirrored sunglasses. Officer Brad Gilmore. License and registration. Sir, my wife is in labor. We're going to City Memorial. She's crowning. Not my problem. You people always got an excuse.
Please, my baby.
He leaned in to look at her, then pulled back with disgust. Trying to bring another black baby into this world just so she can end up on food stamps or shot in a drive-by? Tisk. Should have kept your legs closed, ma'am. What the hell is wrong with you? One more word, and I'll drag you out, boy. Don't test me.
Andre, please.
He forced me out of the car, did a field sobriety test, accused me of being high. 25 agonizing minutes passed while my wife screamed and bled. When he finally let us go, we raced to the hospital. But it was too late. Our daughter didn't make it. She was born without a heartbeat. They tried to revive her. Failed. I held Tasha's hand as she howled in the delivery room. Her fingers clutched mine like she was trying to stay tethered to reality. My name is Andre Banks, and I'm a 34-year-old software engineer. My wife and I are both immigrants from Haiti, and we are based in Baton Rouge. My wife, Tasha, is a nurse. Sharp, kind, and the strongest woman I know. We've been married for 5 years, and for 3 of those, we tried everything to have a baby. IVF, hormone shots, prayer circles, you name it. We cried over negative tests, mourned early losses. So when we finally got the good news that she was pregnant, and that the pregnancy was viable, we treated that child like royalty from the womb. We were having a girl. We named her Imani. It means faith. On the morning of her birth, July 3rd, the contractions came hard and sudden. Tasha gripped my arm, sweat dotting her forehead.
Andre, I think it's time. She's coming, now.
Okay, baby, breathe. I got the bag. Let's get you there. We jumped into our car, hazard lights flashing. I was going about 10 over the speed limit. Empty roads, early morning. But then, the siren. Lights blazed behind us. I pulled over. My hands shook. Stay calm. He'll see you're in labor and help. Right? The officer strutted over like he was walking a red carpet. Stocky, crew cut, mirrored sunglasses. Officer Brad Gilmore. License and registration. Sir, my wife is in labor. We're going to City Memorial. She's crowning. Not my problem. You people always got an excuse.
Please, my baby.
He leaned in to look at her, then pulled back with disgust. Trying to bring another black baby into this world just so she can end up on food stamps or shot in a drive-by? Tisk. Should have kept your legs closed, ma'am. What the hell is wrong with you? One more word, and I'll drag you out, boy. Don't test me.
Andre, please.
He forced me out of the car, did a field sobriety test, accused me of being high. 25 agonizing minutes passed while my wife screamed and bled. When he finally let us go, we raced to the hospital. But it was too late. Our daughter didn't make it. She was born without a heartbeat. They tried to revive her. Failed. I held Tasha's hand as she howled in the delivery room. Her fingers clutched mine like she was trying to stay tethered to reality. And I felt numb, hollow. A week later, we buried Imani in a tiny white casket. People told us to be strong, but all I wanted was justice, and I wasn't alone. Our next-door neighbor, Miss Edwina, was also Haitian, well into her 70s, a retired school teacher known in our area for being sharp-tongued, deeply spiritual, and a little mysterious. After word got out that we'd lost the baby, Miss Edwina showed up on our porch that evening. She wore a black scarf on her head, rosary beads in one hand, and a satchel slung over her shoulder that smelled faintly of ashes and rain.
I heard what that demon in uniform did to you and Tasha.
Yeah, we're trying to move on.
Don't! Not yet. Some people don't deserve peace. Some people need visitors in the night.
I looked up. Her eyes burned like twin coals.
He took a child's breath for nothing. That can't go unanswered.
She stepped closer.
I will curse him.
Miss Edwina.
You don't have to believe it, but you will watch it happen. All I need is a picture of him. Clear, eyes showing. I'll take care of the rest.
I hesitated.
This voodoo, it will not kill him, but it will break him. Happiness will leave his bones. He will slap without knowing, shout at shadows, see crying children in mirrors. He will fall apart in public, in uniform. And every time he thinks of peace, something will scratch it away.
She reached into her satchel and placed a small, carved wooden idol on our porch table.
Give me the picture by midnight. Let the spirits do the rest.
And I did. A few days later, before anything strange began happening to Officer Gilmore, I started hearing other stories. Like the teenage boy he arrested last spring for resisting, even though body cam footage showed the kid had his hands up. Or the homeless veteran he maced for panhandling near a grocery store, then laughed as he called for animal control. Even worse, there was the pregnant Latina woman he pushed face down during a traffic stop. She went into early labor. Her baby survived, but barely. Gilmore wasn't just cruel. He enjoyed it. He didn't just enforce the law. He hunted people with it. And that's why, when his madness began, when he started slapping officers, screaming about baby cries and invisible bugs, I didn't feel guilt, just justice. Because Miss Edwina's spirits had arrived, and they don't knock, they drag. Gilmore was back on duty. He stopped another black couple, again, insulting them. Only this time, something snapped. He started shaking, muttering. Why are there snakes? Why are there snakes on my arms? He slapped himself, screamed, then slapped the driver, twice. The driver called internal affairs. Next day, he slapped his own partner mid-shift, screamed, "Get the bugs off me." They tested him. No drugs, no illness, just madness. They demoted him, then suspended him. It got worse. He'd be caught muttering on his porch in his underwear, swatting invisible birds. He punched his neighbor, thinking it was a gang member. He was brought back into the force and was called up for a police station meeting. Before the meeting even started, he slapped the chief during roll call. They dragged him away in cuffs, babbling about demons, about the black baby that won't stop crying. He landed in jail, pending psychiatric evaluation. But fate wasn't done with him. Turns out, some of the inmates he'd put away recognized him. And they'd all seen the leaked video of our daughter's story. "It's Officer Baby Killer. What's wrong, Gilmore? Ghosts got your tongue?" He was beaten, mocked, pants stolen. At one point, they shaved half his head and wrote racist on his chest with toothpaste. And then, he confessed to something else. In his ravings, he talked about using gang members, contacts from his old neighborhood. He'd take bribes to look away when they ran drugs or beat someone up. He even once, accidentally, shot a suspect in the leg for a gang boss who paid him. It was all recorded in his psych eval. The department was forced to reopen dozens of cases tied to him. By the time he was transferred to the state mental hospital, he was known across social media as the baby killer cop. And I visited him once. From behind the glass, he stared at me like I was made of shadows. "She screams every night. Imani? I didn't know her name, I didn't know. She knows yours, so does Miss Edwina. Rest well, officer." Today, Tasha and I are still healing. We haven't tried again, not yet. We're not rushing it. But every first of the month, we place a white lily next to Imani's grave. And every time the wind blows gently through the trees, I like to think it's her smiling. As for Gilmore, last I heard, he smeared his own feces on the wall of his hospital room and tried to baptize a nurse. They keep him strapped down most days. You don't always get justice in this world, but sometimes your neighbor practices voodoo. So the moral of the story is, don't be a racist cop, especially when the grieving father has a Haitian neighbor who talks to spirits and knows where to get graveyard dust. And if you're gonna be evil, don't put it on camera, post it in forums, and definitely don't slap your boss while hallucinating a baby ghost. Because karma, y'all. She Haitian and she petty. Now go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell like it's Officer Gilmore's last brain cell trying to escape. Because around here, we don't forget, we hex.
We have exciting news. Ryan and Emma are moving in with us until they save enough to buy a house.
I was confused. Our house wasn't that big. Where are they going to stay?
In your room, of course.
My room? Where am I supposed to go?
You're old enough to take care of yourself. It's time for you to find your own place.
It's not like we're kicking you out. We're just making space for Ryan and Emma. You can stay with a friend or find a small apartment. You'll figure it out.
They said it so casually, as if they hadn't just shattered what little stability I had. I was barely out of college, working a part-time job while trying to land something full-time. I didn't have savings or anywhere else to go. I can't afford to live on my own right now.
You'll manage. You're a woman after all. Men would be willing to take you in.
Ryan and Emma need the space more than you do. He's starting a family. You're practically useless here.
All I was to them was a useless child, someone they could discard when I wasn't convenient anymore. I wanted to scream, to tell them how unfair it was, but I knew it wouldn't make a difference. I've known since I was little that my parents didn't want a daughter. It wasn't something they said outright, but their actions were loud enough. My older brother Ryan was their pride and joy, the son who could do no wrong, the one who carried the family name. I was just an afterthought, a placeholder, until they could have more boys. Only they never did. After me, my mother couldn't have any more children. It was a source of disappointment for them, though they never admitted it in words. Instead, they made it clear in the way they treated Ryan like a king, and me like a burden. When Ryan got good grades, they threw him parties. Guests would fill our house, congratulating him and gushing over his future. My parents will buy him whatever he wants as a gift. I'd sit quietly in a corner, trying not to feel invisible. When I got good grades, they barely acknowledged it. My report cards were glanced at and tossed aside. There was never money for me. If I asked for school supplies, I was accused of being wasteful. If I mentioned a field trip, I was reminded how tight finances were. Money was never tight when it came to Ryan, though. They bought him a car when he turned 18. The day he got it, my parents threw another party. I didn't even get a cake on my birthday that year. My existence seemed to irritate them, like I was a constant reminder of something they didn't want. One summer, when I was about 10, they decided they'd had enough of me. They sent me to live with my Uncle Peter and his wife, Martha. The excuse was that I'd have more space there and wouldn't feel left out while they focused on Ryan's college prep. I knew better than to argue. What was the point? They wanted me gone, and I didn't have a say in the matter. Not living with Uncle Peter and Aunt Martha was worse than I could have imagined. They had 3 kids of their own, and I was treated like an unpaid servant. I cleaned, cooked, and ran errands while their children did whatever they pleased. If I made a mistake, the punishments were severe. I remember one day vividly. Aunt Martha asked me to wash the dishes after dinner. I was careful, but one of the glasses slipped from my soapy hands and shattered on the floor.
Look what you've done, you clumsy brat.
She slapped me across the face so hard I saw stars. When Uncle Peter came into the kitchen and saw the broken glass, he joined in, grabbing a wooden spoon and hitting me until my arms were covered in welts. I thought I was going to die that night. My cries must have carried through the walls because the next morning, a neighbor came over. She'd heard everything and threatened to call the police if they didn't stop. The neighbor must have told my parents because a few days later, they came to take me back home. My mother was furious, not at Uncle Peter and Aunt Martha for what they'd done, but at me for causing trouble.
We sent you there to make things easier for everyone, Amy. Can't you do anything right?
I didn't answer. What was the point? My silence only seemed to confirm their low opinion of me. Back at home, nothing changed. Ryan continued to be the golden boy, and I remained the unwanted daughter. My parents did their best to pretend the incident with Uncle Peter never happened. They didn't even ask if I was okay.
Just focus on school and stay out of trouble.
Trouble, in their eyes, was anything that diverted attention from Ryan. When he got a scholarship to a prestigious university, they were ecstatic. My father invited his co-workers over for a celebratory dinner, boasting about Ryan's future.
This is what hard work and good parenting can achieve. Ryan's going to make us proud.
I stood in the kitchen, washing dishes, listening to them talk about him as if he were the only child they had. I felt like a ghost in my own home. Over the years, I learned to stop hoping for their approval. I stopped asking for anything, stopped trying to please them. But no matter how small I made myself, their resentment lingered. Even the smallest joys in my life were met with disapproval. Once, I saved up for months to buy a new pair of sneakers. They weren't fancy, just something decent to replace the worn-out shoes I'd been wearing for years. When my mother saw them, she shook her head in disgust.
Why would you waste money on that? You should have saved it for something important.
Ryan, meanwhile, had just come home with a brand new gaming console, a gift from my father for staying focused on his goals. I couldn't help but wonder what my life would have been like if I'd been born a boy. I wondered if they'd have treated me differently or tried to move me. The day Ryan left for college was bittersweet. On one hand, the house felt quieter without him there. On the other hand, my parents' attention shifted to me, but not in the way I'd hoped. They didn't suddenly become loving or supportive. If anything, they seemed to resent my presence even more, as if I were a reminder of what they'd lost now that Ryan was gone.
Don't expect things to change, Amy. We still have high expectations for this family.
It was laughable, really. Their expectations had never included me, and I knew they never would. Still, I told myself it didn't matter. I worked hard, got into college on a scholarship, and managed to stay out of their way. But things changed the day Ryan announced he was getting married. His fiancée Emma was beautiful, kind, and everything my parents dreamed of in a daughter-in-law. They welcomed her with open arms, treating her like she was already part of the family. For a while, I thought maybe her presence would soften them toward me, but I was wrong. One evening, they called me into the living room. Ryan and Emma were sitting on the couch, smiling like they had some big secret.
We have exciting news. Ryan and Emma are moving in with us until they save enough to buy a house.
I was confused. Our house wasn't that big. Where are they going to stay?
In your room, of course.
My room? Where am I supposed to go?
You're old enough to take care of yourself. It's time for you to find your own place.
It's not like we're kicking you out. We're just making space for Ryan and Emma. You can stay with a friend or find a small apartment. You'll figure it out.
They said it so casually, as if they hadn't just shattered what little stability I had. I was barely out of college, working a part-time job while trying to land something full-time. I didn't have savings or anywhere else to go. I can't afford to live on my own right now.
You'll manage. You're a woman after all. Men would be willing to take you in.
Ryan and Emma need the space more than you do. He's starting a family. You're practically useless here.
All I was to them was a useless child, someone they could discard when I wasn't convenient anymore. I wanted to scream, to tell them how unfair it was, but I knew it wouldn't make a difference. In their eyes, Ryan was the golden child, and I was nothing. So, I packed my things. I didn't have much, just a suitcase of clothes, a few books, and some photos I couldn't bear to leave behind. As I carried my bag out the door, Ryan and Emma were already moving their things into my room. My parents didn't even say goodbye. The first few weeks were a blur of couch surfing and late nights at work. I stayed with a friend for a while, but I knew I couldn't be there forever. Eventually, I found a tiny studio apartment on the outskirts of town. Meanwhile, Ryan and Emma settled into my old room, and my parents continued to dote on them. They threw an engagement party at the house, inviting all their friends and relatives. I wasn't even invited. I saw pictures of the event on social media, my mother beaming as she held Emma's hand, my father clapping Ryan on the back like he was the greatest man alive. Not once did they think to call me or ask how I was doing. It hurt, but it also made me stronger. I threw myself into work, taking on extra shifts and saving every penny I could. I refused to let their rejection define me. A year passed, and I built a life for myself. I got a better job, made new friends, and even started taking night classes to improve my skills. For the first time, I felt like I was living for myself, not trying to earn my parents' approval. I didn't hear anything about my family until one day I saw it on TV. Ryan's mugshot was everywhere. He had been arrested for a massive fraud scandal. I was shocked. Apparently, he went into business, but it was a front for illegal activities. Embezzlement, money laundering, tax evasion, you name it, he was involved. The authorities had been building a case against him for months. When they finally arrested him, they found enough evidence to bury him in court. The story spread like wildfire. News channels replayed footage of Ryan being escorted out of his office in handcuffs, Emma sobbing behind him. Social media was relentless, with people tearing into him, and, more interestingly, into my parents. Apparently, my father had co-signed some of Ryan's loans, and my mother had been boasting about his success to anyone who would listen. The public, armed with receipts of their involvement, turned on them too. Bad comments flooded every platform. For once, I wasn't invisible. People started connecting the dots, mentioning me in posts. Some even reached out to ask if I was okay. It was surreal. Days later, my mother called me, but I let it go to voicemail. I listened to it later, and I was shocked to hear her begging me for money. The bail for Ryan was more than they could afford, and they needed help. I couldn't believe my ears. They hadn't cared when I was struggling to pay rent or when I barely had enough to eat. Now they wanted my help? She kept calling until I picked up.
Anna, we're desperate. We've sold everything we can, but it's not enough. We need your help.
My help? That's funny coming from you. When I needed help, you threw me out like garbage. Now that your golden boy is in jail, I'm supposed to bail you out?
Please, Anna, we're sorry for everything. We'll make it up to you. Just help us save your brother.
No thanks. Ryan can rot for all I care. And you? You can live with the consequences of your choices. Isn't this what you wanted? To prioritize Ryan over everything else? Enjoy the rewards. I hung up, but the calls didn't stop. My father even tried visiting my apartment, pounding on my door and shouting for me to open up. I called the police and filed for a restraining order. That seemed to finally shut them up for a while. One evening, as I was scrolling through my feed, a breaking news story caught my eye. Emma had disappeared. Reports claimed she'd taken the last of my parents' money. The small amount they'd scraped together for Ryan's legal fees, she'd stolen all and vanished without a trace. My parents were left destitute, unable to pay for Ryan's bail or his mounting legal fees. The house they'd lavished so much attention on was repossessed. Their cars, their savings, Everything was gone. Ryan stayed in jail, awaiting trial. His public defender didn't stand a chance against the mountain of evidence. Eventually, he was given a life imprisonment with no chance for bail or fine. Months later, I saw my parents again. They were sitting among some homeless people, looking worn out and haggard. They were back to eating from hand to mouth. I went to them and made sure they saw me. Right before their eyes, I distributed money to all the homeless people there, but I gave them nothing. They burst into tears and began begging for my forgiveness, but I pushed them off and walked away. They didn't deserve my forgiveness. Not then, not ever. A few months later, I heard my mom was very sick and had been diagnosed with cancer. My dad kept calling me, but I never answered. I really don't care if she lives or dies. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment. But elementary school was nothing compared to high school. By the time I started high school, I was 120 kilos. My mother didn't see anything wrong with it. If anything, she seemed proud, as if my weight validated her own.
At least you'll never be prettier than me.
High school was a battlefield, and I was the favorite target. Every day was a new form of torment. In the hallways, boys would bump into me on purpose, acting like they had hit a wall.
Whoa, watch out everybody. Celine's taking up the whole hallway.
The girls weren't any kinder. They would snicker behind their hands or take pictures of me when I wasn't looking, posting them online with cruel captions like #whale-watching, #big-please. Gym class was the worst. The teacher would always make us run laps, and I'd struggle to keep up, gasping for air while everyone else sprinted ahead.
Come on, Seline, you're slowing us down.
The teacher didn't help.
You need to push yourself harder, Seline. Maybe if you ran more, you'd lose some weight.
I hated gym class. I hated the locker room even more. Changing in front of the other girls was humiliating. They would point and laugh, making cruel comments about my body.
I didn't know they made bras that big.
When I was little, I wasn't fat. In fact, I was the picture of normalcy, bright-eyed, playful, and energetic. My mother used to be a model and earned a lot of money before getting pregnant with me. Unfortunately, she and my father weren't married, and he left her during the pregnancy, claiming she was getting too fat. She was furious and began hating me even before I was born. She believed I had taken away her chance of becoming a superstar. Ever since giving birth to me, my mom tried everything she could to lose weight, but all her efforts were in vain. This led to her frustration, and she came to resent me because of it.
I wouldn't be like this if I hadn't had you.
Those words became her mantra. At first, I didn't understand what she meant, but as I got older, the blame became more explicit.
Do you know what pregnancy does to a woman's body? Do you know how hard it is to lose weight after having a child?
She blamed me for being the cause of her excess weight. The worst part was when she began fattening me up too. She disguised her resentment as care. She began feeding me enormous portions of food, constantly insisting I needed to eat more.
You're a growing girl. You need your strength.
But it wasn't just the portions. She started giving me these strange supplements, telling me they would make me healthy. I didn't know then that they were appetite stimulants. All I knew was that I was always hungry, always eating, and always gaining weight. By the time I was in elementary school, I was heavier than all my classmates. At first, the teasing was mild, just whispers and giggles when I walk by. But as I got older and bigger, the cruelty intensified.
Hey, Seline, are you hiding snacks in your backpack?
The group burst into laughter. I always tried to ignore them, but it was hard when they followed me everywhere, mimicking the way I walked or pretending to wobble like they were carrying an imaginary weight. Lunch was the worst. I could feel their eyes on me as I ate, judging every bite I took.
Do you ever stop eating? No wonder you're so fat.
I wanted to disappear. I learned to eat quickly, shoveling food into my mouth so I could leave the cafeteria before the insults started. But elementary school was nothing compared to high school. By the time I started high school, I was 120 kilos. My mother didn't see anything wrong with it. If anything, she seemed proud, as if my weight validated her own.
At least you'll never be prettier than me.
High school was a battlefield, and I was the favorite target. Every day was a new form of torment. In the hallways, boys would bump into me on purpose, acting like they had hit a wall.
Whoa, watch out everybody. Celine's taking up the whole hallway.
The girls weren't any kinder. They would snicker behind their hands or take pictures of me when I wasn't looking, posting them online with cruel captions like hashtag whale watching, hashtag big please. Gym class was the worst. The teacher would always make us run laps, and I'd struggle to keep up, gasping for air while everyone else sprinted ahead.
Come on, Seline, you're slowing us down.
The teacher didn't help.
You need to push yourself harder, Seline. Maybe if you ran more, you'd lose some weight.
I hated gym class. I hated the locker room even more. Changing in front of the other girls was humiliating. They would point and laugh, making cruel comments about my body.
I didn't know they made bras that big.
On gym days, by the time lunch rolled around, I would already be exhausted. But skipping lunch wasn't an option. My mother packed my meals, and they were always massive. She insisted I eat every bite, even if it meant enduring the stares and whispers.
She's eating for two, herself and her shadow.
The bullying wasn't just verbal. One day, I found my locker filled with garbage. Someone had written "pig pen" on the door in permanent marker. I reported it to the school counselor, but nothing changed. If anything, it got worse.
Aw, did the fat girl cry to the teacher?
Even teachers weren't always sympathetic. During a science project, we had to pair up, but no one wanted to work with me.
Come on, someone pair up with Seline. She's not contagious.
The class erupted into laughter. I was so embarrassed that I sat there wishing I could vanish. Home was no better. My mother's resentment had only grown over the years. She didn't hit me, but I'd have preferred if she did, because her words hurt more.
No one's ever going to love you looking like that. You're lucky you have me.
But she wasn't there for me. She was the one who made me this way, yet she acted like I was some kind of burden she had to bear. When I tried to eat less, she'd force food on me.
Don't waste my money. Finish your plate.
She controlled every aspect of my life, making sure I never forgot that I was the reason for her unhappiness.
If I hadn't had you, I'd still be beautiful.
By sophomore year, I started avoiding school whenever I could. I'd fake being sick just to stay home, even if it meant enduring my mother's scorn.
You're so lazy. No wonder everyone hates you.
I spent most of my time in my room, hiding from the world. But even there, I couldn't escape the weight of everything. The insults, the isolation, the constant feeling of not being enough. One day, after a particularly brutal gym class, I came home and locked myself in the bathroom. I stared at my reflection, hating what I saw. I didn't just hate my body, I hated myself. I knew I had to do something, but I had no idea what to do or where to even start from. When I walked out of high school with my diploma in hand, it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like an escape. The weight of years of torment hung over me, but I knew one thing. I couldn't stay. Not in that house. Not with my mother. That night, I did something I never thought I'd have the courage to do. While my mother snored in the next room, I crept into her purse and stole every bill I could find. It wasn't much, but it was enough to get me away. The first month on the streets was brutal. I stayed in cheap motels when I could and slept on park benches when I couldn't. I stretched every dollar as far as it would go, eating just enough to survive. One evening, as I sat on a bench, hungry and exhausted, a man approached me. He was older, maybe in his late 40s, with kind eyes and a warm smile. He said I looked like I could use some help and offered to help me. I hesitated, unsure if I could trust him, but desperation overrode my fear. I told him my story without him even asking. The bullying, the abuse, everything. Instead of pitying me, he looked angry and somewhat determined.
You've been through hell, but you're still here. Let me help you.
He gave me a place to stay and became the first person in my life to believe in me. He told me he was going to help with my transformation. We started small, walk around the block, cutting out junk food. Then came gym sessions, meal plans, and therapy. It wasn't easy. There were days when I wanted to give up, when the voice in my head, the one my mother planted there, told me I was worthless. But every time I faltered, he was there to push me forward.
You're stronger than you think, Seline. Don't give up now.
After a year, I hardly recognized myself. The weight I'd carried, both physically and emotionally, was all gone. My reflection in the mirror showed a confident, beautiful woman. I couldn't believe my new look. A few months later, The man wanted me to move abroad with him, to start fresh in a new country. But I couldn't. Not yet. There was unfinished business to take care of. I sued my mother for years of abuse, for the torment she had inflicted on me. I didn't let her see me until we faced each other in court. She was shocked to her bones. She hadn't seen me in over a year, and the transformation left her speechless. She cried and begged for forgiveness.
I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. Please, Seline, I'm your mother.
But her apologies meant nothing. You're not my mother. A mother would never do the things you did to their own child. You're my tormentor, and now you'll pay for it. She was convicted of child abuse and sentenced to prison. As I walked out of the courtroom, I felt lighter than ever. Moving to a new country was like stepping into another world. I continued working on my body, pushing myself to new limits. One day, I started an Instagram account to document my journey. 2 months later, a modeling agency reached out, saying they loved my body and I had potential. When I officially began modeling for them, a month later, I couldn't believe it. At the same time, I enrolled in college to study medicine. By the time I graduated, I was juggling 2 careers, a model in high demand and a doctor saving lives. When I was invited back to my birth country to assist with 3 critical cases at the biggest hospital, I took 2 weeks off modeling. The moment I stepped off the plane, I was greeted by a sea of familiar faces. My old classmates stood there, holding signs and cheering as if they had always been my biggest supporters.
Seline, you look amazing.
I couldn't believe my eyes. There were so many cameras there, so I decided to get back at them. I raised my voice so everyone could hear. You bullied me for years, called me names, made me feel worthless. Now you want to celebrate with me? No. Thank you. Kindly stay as far as possible away from me. I do not need your fake love. The cameras captured everything. One by one, they lowered their signs and rushed away in shame. At the hospital, I focused on my work. I needed to save lives. But when I reviewed the files for my next patient after the first one, I was shocked. It was her. My mother. She had become morbidly obese, riddled with health problems, and stuck to a wheelchair. The prison doctors couldn't handle her condition, so she had been transferred here. When I entered the room, her eyes widened in recognition.
Seline, my baby.
She was crying, but I didn't care. I knew exactly how to treat her, but I didn't. Not right away. I delayed her treatment for 3 days, watching as her condition worsened. By the time I finally acted, it was too late. She'd gone beyond what anyone could save. When I returned abroad, I received the news that she had died. I didn't cry. I didn't feel sad. She deserved it. As for my classmates, news about what I said to them spread, and soon it was their turn to be bullied by the media. They were getting the worst of it. I shared a video I had made of them bullying me years ago, and the media went wild. They went after each and every friend who had taken part in bullying me. Some had to move to a different state, while others deleted their social media accounts. It didn't take long before I started seeing my classmates being harassed online. Some were labeled fake friends, and they had to set their accounts to private to avoid all the insults they were receiving. I couldn't be happier. All those who hurt me got what they deserved.